Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 4DMethod user group. Today is September 25th, 2019. On our agenda today, we're going to talk a little bit again about what 4DMethod is. We'll get some 4D news from Jim and Ricardo. Then we'll get the 4D iNug e-digest from Ed Hammond. I'll take the What the Blog segment where I talk about some of the recent blog articles that's come off of the 4D blog. Then we'll have our, I put the wrong thing on the agenda. It won't be Will Taylor again, thank goodness. But we'll have Gabriel Inzirillo give us a walkthrough of the components that they've made available from Ajar in Switzerland.
Yes.
And I will have questions and answers, and then talk about, oh man, I totally missed the agenda here. The next meeting not on September 4th, and so I guess you'll have to stick around to see what the actual dates are. So I got a little focused on the Zoom and less focused on the agenda. So my name is Brent Raymond. I organize the 4D user group called 4DMethod. You can find our website at 4dmethod.com and email 4dmethod@gmail.com. What we do is we get together periodically, trying for every 6 weeks to 2 months, to bring together a scattered community of developers and users. We use video conferencing software in general. It used to be YouTube and Hangouts on Air for meetings to allow people to participate from anywhere in the world. Very proud that that people can jump in and tell us what they're doing across the globe. So we record all the meetings and presentations to be viewed again, and you can see those on our 4DMethod YouTube channel. And our goal is just to provide fresh new content, exposure for users and developers of 4D applications everywhere. So just bring us all a little bit closer together and give us a place to talk about what's going on. So as you may have noticed, we're using Zoom for the first time in this meeting. And again, that's my image of me there, the dog. I have no idea what I'm doing, so your mileage may vary with what gets recorded and shown on the screen. Feel free to reach out if you're seeing this dog later and not Gabriel's presentation, because that shouldn't be right. But thanks for bearing with me, and we'll give this a try. One of the nice things about using Zoom is I can use Keynote to do a bunch of cheesy animations. So we'll see a few of those. I couldn't help myself. So just a quick shout out to the latest Mitarbeiter of Mike Beatty at Objective Systems. He signed up to support 4DMethod on Patreon. Check out Patreon if you'd like to sign up at one of our levels. There's different rewards, including getting shout outs in our meetings, and even at higher levels of contributing, you could have your own page on the site. So anyways, thanks again to Mike, and so we will now hand it over to Jim at 4D to give us a little bit of an update about what's been going on at 4D.
All right, thank you, Brent and Ed. Nice job on the Zoom presentation. I know that's a lot of work, moving from one presentation platform to another, so nicely done. We use Zoom internally here at 4D, so we really like the platform a lot. I appreciate that. And as always, thank you for organizing the meetings, lining up presenters. That is a lot of work, and also to Mike Beatty of Objective Systems for being part of the Patreon thing. He's also a big supporter of a 4D Summit and the World Tour, so that's awesome. We're really looking forward to Gabriel's presentation on the AJ suite of components. As you know, AJAR has been a 4D partner for many years. We're really happy that they're presenting on this user group meeting. Of course, they were very active in that whole project that we did with 4D and the Swiss railway station. Played a big part in that we talked about at the 4D Summit. So we're super happy that, that Gabriel is presenting here. Next, I'd like to welcome Ricardo Mello to 4D. Most of you know Ricardo from Wakanda and from his Wakanda updates on the 4DMethod meeting here. And we're excited that he's now working for the 4D team. So Ricardo is overseeing our growing 4D marketing department, as well as our inside sales team, which is also growing. So we're super happy to have him here at 4D. He brings a lot of marketing and sales skills to our team that will benefit all of 4D. Some of you may have met Ricardo on one of the World Tour stops. So he'll be at the summit, of course. So when you see him, make sure you say hi. And speaking of the World Tour, today is the final day of the World Tour. So we started back in March, and today is the last day of the World Tour in Casablanca, believe it or not. So how many months is that? We had Casablanca yesterday and today. And thanks again for all of those who attended any of the World Tour events worldwide. We went to 44 cities. We had well over 1,000 attendees worldwide. Registrations easily surpassed those of 2017. So these are turning out to be really fun events for the 4D team and hopefully for our developers as well. We're still following up with the people who attended our events. There was so much interest in deep code analysis and quality assurance, automation testing, and the 64-bit readiness reports. We keep getting more and more people wanting to do those. So. And as Brent will mention a little bit later, the blog.4d.com, v17r6 is in beta now, v17r5 is out. All of the new features are being presented in the blogs. We hope you're following those so that when v18 is released early next year, in January hopefully, that you will be ready for it. And the fun thing is now we're getting some guest blog reports, excuse me. So one of them was from Cannon Smith about a week or so ago. And before that, Kirk Brooks was doing one. And soon we'll have another one from Sweetwater. So those are going well. And now you can show this slide on the summit, Brent, if you would.
There we go. All right. I couldn't wait for the animation.
It's awesome. I love it. So yeah, so most of you have got, or hopefully all of you have got the save the date email. The Paris and Chicago summits are set for their time and location. The Paris summit will be March 17th through the 19th, 2020. And the US summit will be March 31st through April 2nd. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in Chicago. And we're super excited about having it in Chicago. And Brent did not twist our arms to do this. And there was no quid pro quo, so to speak. We had it there. So we are having it at a fantastic hotel. The Lowe's Hotel, that picture there is stunning. It's almost a brand new hotel. It's only been around for 4 years. The meeting spaces are fantastic. And the rooms are great with views of the lake. So I think this is going to be a really fun summit. And Chicago is a wonderful town, as you all know. So we're looking forward to that. And also we have the party planned already. I'm not going to tell you where that's going to be yet. We like to try to save that for later on in our email blast. But we have the party already booked and lined up, so that'll be fun too. But most importantly, we'll have a great lineup of keynote presentations and breakout sessions. Soon we're putting out a call for speakers to those of you who want to speak at the summit. I know many people who are on this meeting now have spoken at previous summits, so hopefully you'll do it again. You'll be seeing all the features that you're seeing now in R5 and R6, but at that time we will have 18 out, and we're super excited about that release. So that's about all for me, Brent. Thank you so much. And yeah.
A couple questions.
Yeah.
Do you know which hotel it is going to be in Paris?
That I do not, but I can find out for you.
Okay.
I think we have it booked already. I just don't know where it's going to be.
And
And the Paris Summit is a little bit different, where I don't believe everyone stays at the same hotel where the summit is, um, as opposed to the U.S. Summit, which is a little bit different. So typically, we'll have the Paris Summit at a hall or a nice hotel, but it doesn't have to be the same hotel where everyone's staying. So, but I'll
and
find out, and we'll post that too.
cool.
Yeah.
And do you happen to have any idea when the deadline for suggesting topics for sessions might be? If just kind of planning out, speculating when that might be.
Okay, so once we announce the call for speakers, I don't know, but you'll have plenty of time to give it some thought. We'll make the announcement, and then add Co-Chair Insiri will look through the prospectuses or the proposals for people who want to present, and then we'll decide from there. But you'll have some time to think about it.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very fun experience to to give a session there, and it really it's nice to give back to the community, and it's a totally different experience than just going to the summit and lurking. So it's a lot of fun.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thanks, Jim,
Thank you.
and welcome, Ricardo. Yeah, so anyways, just a little more detail about 17R5 that was released. One of the biggest new features, I mean, to me, it's kind of the elephant in the room with R5, is the built-in encryption. That's a really nice feature. It uses some serious encryption too. It's called AES. It's a standard. In fact, it's while it is very hardcore, if you're not using AES at the 256-bit level, one might argue that it could too easily be broken. However, this is what say the U.S. National Security Agency, the NSA, uses for top secret data. So we're able to operate on the fly at that level with our 4D systems now. It's as easy as just check marking your tables, which tables you want to encrypt, and effectively compacting your data set, and boom, you're able to have resting encryption on your system, which is, I think, going to be more and more important for all of our applications. So one quick detail with the encryption is, at least currently, if you're keeping objects, texts, or pictures or blobs outside of the data file, those don't currently get encrypted with it doesn't get encrypted, even though it's associated with it's a field from a table that is flagged to be encrypted. So if you're storing some content outside the data file, say objects or text, whatnot, that you're concerned with being encrypted, you might want to migrate it to be stored in the data file. If you're not concerned about that, it's actually probably a crafty solution to having some large content not be encrypted, whereas the rest of the table does get encrypted. So, just little details here that we'll all be feeling out as we deploy these solutions. But again, it's a really fantastic new feature for R5, and I'm excited to use it. Among the other new features of R5 are improvements with 4D View and 4D Write and 4D for iOS, but also you're able to fetch object fields via ODBC. So if you're accessing data 4D from 4D for external systems through ODBC, you can now get object fields. There's also optimized performance in client server with the context variables or parameters, sorry, for say querying and handling of data retrieval. So that has been, along with the processor usage being optimized, is said to have 4 to 8 times faster performance. It's able to take full advantage of the multi-threaded processors that we have in our machines now for read and write access. So that's a big step ahead. That's something that I think they're finally wrapping up some of the core code being converted over to full 64-bit handling, and so that's nice when you get faster performance just out of the box. So great release, and we're leading up to 18, so that's going to be a big jump in performance for all of us, I think, once we move over. Just a quick comment from Jeff Kane here in the chat window. The speed of R5 is excellent. I know that Jeff and Sweetwater just upgraded to it on Pirate Day. Arr, pirate, right? Not my joke. They're running it in production in Sweetwater, and it's a very noticeable improvement under load. So that's exciting to see, since that's one of the biggest client server deployments of 4D in the world. So that's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to kick it over to Ed now to do the iNug eDigest, where he summarizes some of the discussion that's been happening on the iNug.
Thanks, Brent. I'm a little disappointed that you don't have my head spinning in the corner there in the keynote.
I'll make note of that.
But I'm sure you'll improve that experience next session.
Oh, we will.
Yeah. Well, it should be about Halloween. Maybe some projectile vomiting and Omen references.
Yes, some more pirate action, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, with the digest summary of the iNug. The reason we do this is because the iNug's got a wide breadth of topics and 4D tech issues that are discussed. A lot of times there's somebody out there that's already experiencing the problem you are experiencing, or has a tip to help you solve it. So take advantage of the iNug and read through those things that are of interest to you. All of the links that I'm going to reference today will be available later on the 4DMethod eDigest page. So you can check those out after our marvelous presentation from Gabriel later. So without further ado, a couple of topics on subforms from Chris Bellinger. Subform, variable or expression bound variable, not working with it. It is a form dot variable. Well, there's reasons for that, because Miyako explains you can't bind to an attribute of a form object. The other question he has is how to get container object name in the subform method. So if you're working with subforms and having problems binding and working with the form object in your forms, check out those two threads. John Boffman was surprised that get system info versus platform properties reveals different things. And that thread kind of highlights, it's a reminder that sometimes there are commands that will give you more information but may require another approach to what you used to do. So check some of those things out. I know we've written some of our core routines that used to use platform properties using get system info, and that's nice information to have available. Prevent client from sleeping was a question put forth by Jim Medlin. Chimp Scheide, Tim Penner, Chuck Miller, and others had all kinds of options for him to try. Of course, the question is, why do you want your client to not sleep? That's another topic. John DeSoy offered up a command on the Mac OS, which is called caffeinate, which is rather interesting and can be deployed via LEP. So if you're interested in preventing your clients from sleeping, knock yourself out, get into sleep deprivation. Gabriel Inzirillo, my best option with a Italian accent, which is terrible, posted something about my 4D experience blog. I highly encourage you to check that out. I did that this morning as I was going through my postings, and he has very useful tips on working in the environment, at least 10 or more, and announcement about his development and unit testing within 4D. I thought that was very interesting, and plan on looking into that further. And finally, as everybody moves from their legacy code into more ORDA and object-based stuff, lots of questions about objects, object behavior, and references and reference counting. So without further ado, the following subjects are worth noting. Object property inheritance. Why does this not work? I know it's kind of vague, but read along and you'll find out that there are some interesting things in there. Shared objects and collections. V17.3, clear 4D object. 4D object to blob, text, or document. And 4D objects and embedded objects, save as file. Lots of contributors on these threads. One notably is the reemergence of Aparajita Fishman. For those of you who don't know who Aparajita is, he's the author of Object Tools and Active 4D, which were two plugins that were, well, Object Tools is pretty self-explanatory, used objects well before they were available within 4D. And Active 4D is a way to script websites, accessing the 4D engine directly. So it's always good to hear his insights on new developments in the 4D environment. He has put forth possible video course options from him on object development within 4D v17 and on web API development. So if you're interested in that, look for these links later on today. And with that, I'll send it back to you, Brent, for another marvelous slide transition.
Prepare yourselves. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Ed. It's always a lot to keep up with, but there's just you know, there can be a real goldmine of information out there. So thanks for collecting that and providing links to all of the main discussions on the 4DMethod website /e-digests. So thanks again. Here we go. Yes. All right. So and here's the segment called What the Blog, where I shout out about a few of the latest blog articles. Again, the 4D blog, while it's only been around for a couple of years, is really now absolutely the best place to look for write-ups and examples of the new features that are coming and versions, our versions and next versions of 4D, and what you can expect, you know, how to use those language changes, and also give you nice databases that have those examples with the articles. So first of all, there's an article on 4D for iOS. As you might have heard, the iOS 13 just came out, dark mode, and so it's a little write-up about how 4D for iOS is going to be compatible with all of those new features. And so that's a nice, if you're looking to deploy 4D for iOS, presumably with version 18, once it gets out of preview, that'll be a good starting point to see how it's going to work with iOS 13. Our own Cannon Smith had an article on his Orda cheat sheet. I myself have downloaded that and printed it out and have it next to my computer. It is a very nicely color-coded and organized cheat sheet, double-sided, that classifies the Orda collection member functions. There's one for collections and ones for entities as well. And it's very nice to have. These are all new language, new parts of the language for all of us. So it's nice to have a little cheat sheet. It's kind of a shout out to learning any other language, programming language. It's always nice to have a little cheat sheet to see how you use different constructs. So thanks to Canon for putting that together. There's a neat new feature coming out. I believe it was with R6 for optimizing your Orda code with request logging. So there's a couple different ways you can go about doing it, but in the little snippet that we have right here, if you can see my cursor, anyone see my cursor? My mouse, cool. Yeah, so you can actually set it up so that it caches the last 10 requests to your data store. As far as what you would normally see in the request log, you can see that you can access it directly through the code. And you can also turn it on and turn it off for just a specific segment of code. So start it and end it later in the method, and that's pretty darn cool for when you're learning with Orda and trying to optimize your code and see how much chit chat is going back and forth between the client and the server, for instance. That's a great tool to have in your tool chest. So then there's also an article on ordering an entity selection with this new Orda method. I don't have a little snippet about that, but it's talking about, again, the new formula formula object that we have in 4D is starting to get deployed more and more throughout the language, and now not only in the query statement, but you can also pass a formula for ordering a selection. So it provides a much nicer way to work with more complicated sortings with your Orda entity selections. And also more sophisticated Orda queries with formulas. So kind of goes the same thing with the ordering. Anyways, the blog is great. That's just a small bit of what's coming out of the blog. Check it out. There's also tons of great information about new developments with 4D Write and 4D View, and all of the new data encryption functionalities. So check it out at blog.4d.com. Okay, let's see. Yes. Now on to the special topic for this meeting, the AJ suite of components. We have Gabriel Inzirillo. Inzirillo. There we go. That's better. It should be pronounced in the Italian dialect there. He's joining us from Switzerland. He's works with AJAR SA, the Swiss 4D company. Distributor, yes. He's been working as a Wakanda ambassador since 2012, and since 2016 has been a 4D software developer. He's, again, as Ed mentioned, he's blogged about his experience transitioning to working with 4D on his blog, My 4D Experience, which is just, you know, I always find it interesting how people progress and how their views are, you know, being introduced to 4D. And so he's got a great write-up about the things that he's found interesting getting into 4D and also moving ahead with these components and how he developed the components. He'll be talking about a series of tips. Oh no, sorry, that's what he has on his blog. A series of tips and articles. Check it out, but first check this out. He's here to review a handful of components he has made freely available. It's fun to see what they can do, but even more fun to see how they were built. It's a very clever use of objects and formulas, subforms, SVG, and more. And I'll just hand it over to Gabriel. Let's give him a warm 4D welcome and let him take it from here.
Okay, thank you, Brent. I think I should try to share my screen.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing mine, and hopefully your screen will people will see that.
Okay, it's working.
Okay.
So let me know if it's okay for you.
Yeah.
You can see. Oh.
Does everybody see his screen?
Yes, we see AJ's suite of components.
Okay, perfect. So thanks a lot, Brent, for giving me the opportunity to present our components. Sorry if my English is not perfect. I'm not really fluent, but I will try my best. So I will go quickly through the team in Azure. So Azure was created by my father, Maurice Inzirillo. So I'm working as a 4D developer. We have Gary Cribley, who was the main developer behind the UI components that I will show you. And we have also Marco Rotten, which is the Swiss-German guy that helps for communication, because in Swiss we have two main languages, French and German, but sadly we don't speak good German, me and my father, so we have a guy to help us. So here you have a picture showing my father teaching me how 4D is working and showing me how to eat a good cake made with 4D. So let's go quickly through a history. You already get a small description before, but yes, Azure was founded in 1993, so it's a long time ago, and it's the 4D Swiss distributor. We propose some services to our client, like support, consulting, development, but we have also some solution for hosting. So we have a room dedicated where we have some servers, some Mac Mini, and we host some 4D server for some clients. Because sometimes it's not easy to find a good solution. Now it's more easy with the clouds, but since long time we provide hosting solution. My father created some component long time ago already. Maybe some of you know regex lab. Another tip, which is a component to a display tip. Regex lab is to build some complex regex expression. And some was never released, like a multi-language XLIF component that never see the light out of my father's computer, and some other small one that was never released. My father was also the forum architect, 4D forum architect with Olivier Deschanel back in 2003, I think. And myself, I joined the team in 2012. Like you say, first I was more in the Wakanda side. And since 2016, I'm really more focused on 4D. And we have Gary Criblé, who joined the team in 2017 to support me to develop for one client. I think Jim said before, for the Swiss railway station, one of our clients requested some help to develop the application, so we joined Gary to help me. Okay, the AGI suite of components. The first, it came from the idea to refactor the another tip component, which was built with an old version of 4D. I'm not sure if it was V12 or before, but I think V12. And we wanted to use the V17R version. At that time, it was R3, to use all the power of object and all the nice tools we have in V17. We create in the same time some small tools, some utilities method that we use internally, which are not released all, but we have the idea to harmonize all the components behind a suite of components. So we call AGI because of Azure. So that's why we have AGI suite of components. So the list of components today that are released are 7. We have the tip, which display a nice and complex tip. Floating label is a small component that helps you to show a nice label. We have the banner, progress bar, button, which are all UI components, and we have some more tools component. Xleaf is to manage all your Xleaf strings in many languages. And the last one is unit test, which was inspired by a guru of test-driven development in JavaScript, Eric Elliott. So I really inspire to do something simple as he described in his post within 4D. So I think the best is to start with a demonstration of what we can do with those components. Then we will go through each component and see in detail what each component can do. And we will finish with maybe I will show you more code, how we code the component, how we use them in the example. So let me open the first demonstration. Okay, it's that one. Okay, so the first demonstration is I don't know in the US, but in Swiss we have more and more in the supermarket. We have automated cash station, cashier station. That means we don't go to somebody who scan all our article. We scan ourselves the article. We modify ourselves and we pay ourselves, and we don't need really somebody. There is just somebody that server, but it speeds up a lot the process. So I wanted to have something similar in 4D because, as you may know, a lot, and especially with new developer, they always our experience is they most of the time tell us, but 4D look ugly, it look like a 20 years old application, and you cannot do nice stuff with 4D. So we say, yes, if you don't do much fancy things, it can look maybe simple, but if you know the tools, you can build really nice interface. So here I show you some the interface. Here we have some button. So I can choose my language. And you see this kind of button with 4D, it's hard to create with a specific look on over and special shape and custom color. So here we're gonna choose the language, which is English. So here we have the main window where we can scan article, and we see different parts of what we can do. We have some button here to select some bakery, fruits or vegetable, which sometimes are not, they don't have a barcode to scan, so you can select them. You can pay cash, pay card, but here they are disabled because we don't have anything. We can always switch back to choose another language if we want, so French or German, Italian. And okay, let's say I want to start to scan some random article. I don't have a bar code here, so I make a fake one. Move the sound a little bit. So here I start to scan article, and I see it's adding in the total and bonus point, and it tell me how much I save with maybe some of the article have a discount. So here maybe I want to know what is the bonus point. So if I hover this part, I have a small description with a tip that explain me what is the bonus program. Okay, and what is this small coin here? I see, okay, if I hover it, I see for $500, I save $5. Okay, so let's maybe try to reach $500. So I will scan a lot of articles. I don't know if you hear the beep, but
We do. Yep.
okay, I will try to reach 500. So I see here I have like a progress bar that fills up until I reach 500. So I'm almost there. So
Very
here
hungry.
you see I have an animated tip that show me I save $5. Okay. So maybe let's say, okay, I want to, I buy mangoes, but I don't want to scan the 10 mango I buy. So here I can click on it and I can add some mangoes. So you see here I didn't show any window. I don't have a button in my window. I just show a tip where inside I have a form. So I display a form inside a tip where I can add or remove some item. Maybe I make wrong. I didn't want it to buy iced tea concentrate, so I can delete it. And you see some animated button. Okay. So let's say I'm done with it. I want to pay with cash. So here I ask the guy to pay with cash. So I'm gonna put my money in the machine. Once it's done, it's gonna print the receipt. Okay, I print the receipt. I get it. I get a thank you message, and I'm going, and the pay station is ready for the next customer. So that's the kind of interface we can build in with our components. So I don't want to go too much in detail. I will go now, I will close this demo, and I will show you each component one by one to show you what they are able to do. Okay, I will close this. Okay, sorry now. I have another demonstration first to show you. Let me open it. Okay, this one. I have another little example to show you. Here I have a small data explorer with a database who have company, employees, and invoice. Really basic stuff. So when I choose a company, I see some fields, a list of employees. Okay. Here, let me take one employees. Here I see I have some fields, so I will enter in one field, and I have one tip that give me some help of what I have to enter here. You notice also the label color change on the field I have focus. So here is blue, and the other one are gray. But here you see one field, you have a placeholder. Placeholder, they are great to tell you what to enter, but the problem when you enter something, you lose the information of what you should enter inside. So here, one of the components make the placeholder to go on top of the field. So if I say I remove, I get back the placeholder, but I lose the label. So if I say first street, city, my town, country, Switzerland. So that is one component that help you to display nice label. Okay, I have, for the example, I want to do a big operation, so I will simulate some stuff that can take time. So here we can block all the interface with a loop, with a progress bar, and give a message. So it's always nice for the user to know something is happened, you see something is rolling. So this is a good way to show the user something happened. Let me scroll a little bit in the employees. Okay, I look. Oh, this I want to ask now if anybody here noticed the small checkbox here on top.
Yep.
Actually, sometimes we see some interface with a lot of fields and some checkbox to say some state on a record, some information, but sometimes they are lost in an ocean of fields, and sometimes this information is important. So here I find more interesting to put what we call a corner ribbon to tell if an employee was fired and doesn't work anymore for the company, than to have a small checkbox somewhere that maybe we never notice. So this is a good way to display an important information, which we have to see quickly and without the eyes to look the information. For example, these people, we don't want to call them, we don't want to use their phone, so we know, something red, maybe I don't stay too much time with this employee. Another example here is the phone number for one employee. And sometimes here it's a little bit big font size, but sometimes you have a small field with a small font size, and if you have to call somebody, you have to maybe to bend if you don't have a good view to see the number. So here we use one of the components to have a kind of big display. So you can stay far from your computer and write the number without having to look too much in deep. So that is also something that can help the interface and give a good feature to your application. Okay, let's look in the invoice list. So here we see I use again the corner ribbon to say if my invoice was shipped. So here I know immediately that my invoice was already shipped. So let's find one which is not shipped. Okay, this one. Here I see I have now a ship button, but I can also add some lines. Maybe before to ship, I want to add some avocado. So here again, I use a tip which include a subform. And in my subform, I have a small product select. So I can add maybe 10 avocados. And we see it's expensive avocados. Okay, let's save it. And now I want to ship invoice. Maybe to ship it takes big operation. So here I simulate a progress bar here to give the information to the user something is happening. And now it's shipped. So that's kind of nice stuff and small improvement you can give the user to know something is happening. Okay. I see some something in the chat. I don't know if there is some question.
No, just I think there's a question on the first example with the localization.
I don't hear much. I don't know if my sound is off.
Oh,
sorry.
There was just a question for the first example of how the localization was working, but I mean, there's another comment that the UI looks great, and I would say it does. This is a great example of how all the components can be used together and for what purposes. It just has a real nice effect on the usability.
Okay. Yes, maybe I forgot to translate some of the string. Okay, so I want to go maybe through the list now of components. I will show you the how do I example we have. We'll try to go quickly because it can take time if I spend too much time in each of them. But let's start with the floating label example. Okay, so here I open the how do I example. All the how do I example, you can find them in our website. So if you want to play and look the source code, you can download all the example. So here I show you already before. If you have a placeholder and you enter something, the label pops up on top. So we get this ID actually from a web library that do the same stuff. So we wanted to have the same in 4D. So location, birthday, we can put something. Okay, can we set all? We have the same example in the small. So if you have a small form, it's the same. A little bit too small maybe to see, but and we can do some dynamic change of the color. Maybe here I have the title blue, but if I want a red title price, I can change dynamically. I want blue, I want red. So all these parameters, you can create the design you like, the size you want, if it's bold, all this is you can set up. So I don't know if there is any question on floating label.
Not currently.
Okay. So let me go through the next one. So to keep the next one is banner. So banner actually have different kind of banner. We have what we call a window banner. is I show you before is a text we display, and we put like an overlay of on the whole screen. So this way you are able to block any click, or you can give a message, or on click you can hide it. You can display a picture if you want. Here we see the phone number, like the example I showed you before. And we have also the spinner. You see before when I do some operation, it's nice to display a spinner. We have also what we call corner ribbon. So this is part of a GUI banner. So we can display 2 corner ribbon if we like. We can put them in the corner, top right, bottom left, bottom right. You can display them where you want. You can display them, 2 of them. Okay. Window banner we see already. Here we see we have a different color, so we can change the color. We can display a picture. For example, here the picture give an explanation of what the buttons are doing. And we have a window spinner. So window spinner is a little bit different for a simple spinner. Is here we can add some text and the spinner on the side. So on the right or on the left. Okay. So that's what Edgy UI banner can do. We have in the HotWise some more complex example. For example, here we can we show how to modify on the fly the message. So here we see we display some dots. So that means the user knows something is happened, and is not stuck with one message, and you don't know if it's going on or not. Okay, so we can give some feedback to the user. We have the ability to use it inside subform. So here we load the subform of the previous example, and we see that it will display in the main form. So it's compatible with subform. Actually, today you can only display banner in the main form, but not inside the subform. And the same for corner ribbon. They are available, they are compatible within subform. And the last example is, yes, it's a new feature we introduced not long time ago, a few weeks. You can put a corner ribbon in a target object. So for example, here we have a list box, and we want the corner ribbon be bind to the list box, but not to the wall window. So here we can bind a ribbon to any object. Actually, you can bind it to any object, but we allow also for you to give the coordinate where you want the ribbon. So it gives you full flexibility where you want to put your ribbon.
Now, it looks like the change is animated. Is that that is actually animated, or is that?
Actually, it's, I think 4D use the OS mechanism when we move an object. I think Mac OS animate it by itself. Don't do anything special. In Windows, you will not see this effect. It's only on Mac.
Okay.
So that's quite all for banner. So let me go through the next one. Next one is progress bar. So let me launch the example. So here I will launch the progress bar lab. So here we have what we call a lab. So we have more options that we can parameters. For example, here we can set the percentage, and we see we have an animation when we switch the percentage. This can be useful if you use your progress bar as a display of a state or a value that can change from one value to another one, but it's not really a progress bar like something is going on. Because if something going on, you want to be able to go through small steps, and you don't need animation. That's why you can deactivate the animation, and at that time it will really go directly. So if you want to use the progress bar to display, I don't know, 1000 steps, it will animate by itself actually. So we have some option: the progress area, the size of the width of the area. So if you want to be smaller, the 8. If you want it to be bigger, the corner radius you can change, the border color if you want. The background color here is none, but you can put any color. It accepts CSS color or hexadecimal. So if you want to put gray, light gray, I don't know, you can put something. The bar offset here, I think it's it's the space between the border and the bar inside. So if you don't want any space, you can put 0. If you want a big space, 20 is too much. If you want a big space, you can put a bigger number. And of course, you can change the bar color. To change, I don't know, to pink, any color you like. You can change the font name, the font size, etc. The text position on top, on bottom, or in the middle. You can also launch a barbershop if you have something without a progression. It's just something going on. You can launch the barbershop. Here, the animation is mandatory to have something nice. Actually, for animation, we use a lot Walker, because they are really good to push. We use a lot Walker and call form, so we are able to update the state and do some kind of animation. So I will stop it, and I will go to the next example. We have a second kind of progress bar that we call circular progress bar. Here it's like the name say, it's a circular bar. You can also set the background bar size if you want a big background. You can set internal color, so this will be the center. This is not really nice, so I will put it back to none. You can set the color of the border, so it's a light blue. So this here you can set up the background bar. The circular progress bar itself can be set also. If you want a small one, you can put the width of 3 and set the color, the speed animation. Let me put maybe a bit bigger here and smaller here to give a different style, and we can give round line ending to have something rounded or square, or but that is some SVG end of the line. We can say if we want to display the percentage, if we want animation or not. So again, if I disable animation, it will go directly to the value. If I activate, it will animate. the font size, the font style, etc., color, and you can also set the text title. And of course, you have also a barbershop. Yeah, maybe put smaller font size. Okay, and you have a barbershop that says, "Please wait." Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, so a wandering array of settings that you can you have access to with these components to customize the look and feel of each of the functionalities. I really like how you use the worker process for these progress bars. I mean, that's, you know, one might ask, well, what's the difference between the 4D component and this component? And that's a big one.
Actually, we use massively SVG, as you may know. All data picture, and we redraw every time the picture as needed, and actually it's quite fast. So, for example, in the barbershop, we can I think we can set the speed animation. If I put 5. Actually, a bigger number is slower, but maybe if I put 0.2. Yeah, I don't know how the speed the fast, but we never have issue about speed when we have animation, and we will see after, even with the tip, we have some animation on tip, and even if you have many animation, 5 or 10 animated widgets in your form, it doesn't prevent you to write or to navigate in your form. So it's quite powerful. Okay, let me look at the next example. Yes, it's a dashboard. Here we use not really as a progress bar that go by itself, but we have some steps. So for example, here we have the daily order fulfillment. So the first step, we have 60% of production, 30% packaging, and only 10% delivery. At step 2, we reach 95 production, 70 packaging, and 50 delivery. And step 3, everything is done. We can go back home because we finish all the tasks of the day. So it's a way also to show some statistics, or to show some percentage of something you have, and you can use those progress bar as a tool to show something in a dashboard in your application. Okay, multi-barbershop, yes. This is an example with 3 barbershop running together, and you see there is no stuck things. It's quite fast, and yes, and it's even more fast in compile, of course, than in interpreted. But even in interpreted mode, we never have issue with the speed of animation. Okay, let's go through the next. I don't know if you have question about progress bar.
No, but I'm excited to see some of the code behind it, and how to add these to your forms. But
okay, we will come back when I finish to show all. I will show you
okay.
how
Okay.
I code it.
Great.
Next one is the one of my favorites, is the button. I really like it because it's really simple to use, and we can have really nice button with that. So I will go quickly on some example. Here we have what we call composite button. So composite means 1 picture and 1 text, and we can have 2 background color. So on click, we have a different behavior. Another example, will be linked composite. It's also a picture and a text, but in this case they are linked together, so they don't have each one its own box. We just define a padding and they follow each other. Here actually we define the size of the box for the picture. It allows us to do different kind of alignment. We have those two different composite buttons. We have picture button. Here we see we can scale the picture inside the button, and we can, for each state, on click, on over, have a different picture inside. Let's look at the lab, which is a little bit more sophisticated. So here I make a demo button for 4DMethod today. And here actually we want to show you all the properties that are available. We wanted to have the same style as we have it in the form editor. So we see here we have 4 states: default, over, active, disable. Here we see for default. Let me maybe start with a new template. We allow you to create some templates, so you don't need to define if you have 20 buttons in your application with a specific style. You can define it once, have a template, then you can load the template and maybe just change the label or the picture. So here we allow you to have some template. We have a lot of example for some button. It can be only a text button. It can be some composite with a picture on the left, picture on the right. Okay, so let me maybe create a new template. I will say method demo 2. Okay, so here by default, all the states over, active, disable are the same. So let's say I want the background color to be orange. Okay, so now all the states have an orange background. I want maybe over to be a little bit lighter. So now here we see on over it's lighter, and here I have the interactive button. We see a lighter on over. On active, maybe I want a little bit darker. So now if I click, I will see darker. And on disable, I want to put an opacity of maybe 30%. We allow you to set the opacity in this style, which is allow in SVG. So you put the color, 2 point, and the opacity. Yes. Okay. So here, if I disable the button, I don't have any other states than the disable. Okay, so now I want to save my template. Okay. Let's maybe quickly look where the templates are saved. Here I have my my 4D database, and in the resource we create for you a folder, button templates. Sorry, and inside we have all the JSON. We store the object description in a JSON. So let's open it. And here we see all the properties of our button. So we have box, resize, primary color, corner radius, border size, text, picture, etc. What is interesting here, you see I have a specific object called over, which have box, border, text, picture, composite, which are all button, all objects, sorry. And if you look, it's the same object that I have for my default one. Actually, in this object, we will only put the property that overrides the default properties. So this way we know, okay, for over, we will take everything in the default property, but this one will override the one we have here. So this way we can set for each state, over, active, disable, some specific description. So this is saved on disk, and when you create a new button, we will see after, you can just load it, and instead to set again everything, you just set maybe the label or what you want to be changed. Okay. I see one question here.
It's, can you scale the picture in the hover phase?
Yes, of course we can scale. Let's take maybe one with a picture, one example. In the hover phase, we have a scale. Let's put maybe 2. Maybe 2 is not. What is the correct value here? That is the demo effect. Why I cannot scale? I cannot put. Let me take another one. Picture without box. Here I have one example that actually scale on active. So what is the difference? Yes, actually let's come back here on the other example. I think I have to set the size here. Maybe if I say 20, no. Yes, I don't know why I don't have this working here. I don't know what is wrong here. We said before picture without box. Here. No, I don't know. I have to check this, but we should be able to scale the picture. I don't know why it doesn't work. My father said because of the type, but I don't know. I really don't know. Here. Okay, I know why. Sorry for that. I think scale is a percentage. So of course, if I put 1%, it's too small. Let's try. Yes, if I put 50, you see on over, it's smaller. Yes, 100. I can actually the scale it must be under 50, but yes, we can scale it. Actually, sometimes it can take time to design to find the good property of your button to have a good design. It's like in the web design, when you do CSS, sometimes it can take you hours to find exactly the good settings, and here you have some time to play a little bit until you find exactly what you like to have. Okay. So I don't know if there is other question for Builtin. We will cover the code. Okay, I will do this example. Here I have the tip. I don't know how much time I have left, Brent.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's yeah, I just I'd love to see the tip, and let's save a little bit of time at least to see
Okay.
The code in the background.
Okay,
I think that's really.
I will try to go not to take too much time. Let me show you just quickly here. So of course you can define some different skin of tip. You have a lot of example on position, orientation. I'll let you go check that if you are interested. The last, yes, animation. Here I will show you many animated tip that run all together. So we have the blink tip and the jump. So we see they can jump. They can blink 5 times, and here we give you the code how to set that. So we see they can really, many animation can work at the same time. It's not a problem. Okay, we have the last things we develop is a curve arrow. So here, I don't know if you see, but the arrow is a little bit curved. You can define the way it's curved. Actually, here it's a little bit complex, so you have to find the good value to put to have a nice curved arrow. Okay, and we have a lab. We redevelop all the lab to look the same as the one we have in the Builtin. So here we see it's locked, so we can unlock, and you can set all the property of your tip. We have a different example. If you want to use your own form, subform to display with a blink, set, decline, okay. And here we have something more. We show you the code to achieve this one. So once you set all your settings, we display you the code to set up the maybe I will zoom a little bit. And here you see we use the dot notation for hide and show, and we have what we call setter. So tip name, we have tip duration, auto rebuild, text label. So we use a formula to set every properties of your object. We use the same technique in every component. So here you can copy the code. Here actually we give you everything, but maybe you need only some of them. Okay.
And the code itself is effectively open source for the components, right?
The lab, yes, you can have the source, but the component itself is provided in compile mode.
Okay.
But all the labs are interpreted, so you can check the code behind.
Great.
Okay, so maybe I will open again the demo from before. This I will close. I will open the demo. Maybe we will look at some code. So I will close that, and I will open my form. So here I have my 4 buttons, and we see it's a variable of type picture, which transparent, what is important is the events you bind. You must bind the onload, on click, on mouse enter, on mouse leave. That allow us to draw the mouse on over and the mouse up. Because actually a variable have two kind of event when you click. So when you push the button down and when you release the button. So we manage those two events to display the onActive state when you click and when you release. So let's look now in the code. So I write some generic code here. So I always take the button name and I create a new property in my form object. And here I use the one method of the component, which is called new GUI button, and return you all the properties and all the member function of the button. And we see here I use a template. So I give a parameter, template name, lang button, so language button. So within I have all the settings of the color, of the size, of the corner radius, of the border, etc. So I must provide the name of my button. So the composer know where to draw the picture. And here I display a label. Here you see I use a constant because I can, most of the property can be defined for one state. So for default, for over or active. So you can always set a different property for each state. For example, when you click, you want to display clicked, so you're gonna have a different label. If you set only the default one, it will be the same for all. So here I use English and I display the English flag. If I look the French flag button, it's exactly the same, but I use Français as a label and the French flag. The other things you can see here is I bind a callback for the on-click, and through this callback I will give some parameter. So here we accept an object as a parameter that will be sent to the callback. And here the callback, we just take back the parameter, we set the lang as the current language, and we change the database localization. And we go to the next page. So
I love the use of the formulas there. That's just very elegant.
yes, actually I can show you something. Here we have a special way to use formula. As you may know, in other object language, you have what we call getter and setter. And most of the time we have a set label or get label if you want the value. Here we did it a little bit different. We want to have only one formula which acts as a getter and as a setter. So for example, if I want the label, I can say form name dot label, and here I will, if I'm correct, I will just give only the state, but I don't give a second parameter. So here, if I put a breakpoint here and just launch it, I will put here in the debugger. Here it will return me a value. If I don't put any parameter to set, it will behave as a getter. So every one of our formula act as a setter and as a getter.
Awesome.
So this is in every component, we use the same technique.
It's a nice concept.
Yes, before we start to have two formula every time, set label, get label, but we see it really helps to do it that way. Okay, so that is for the button. let's check how I set the tip, for example. I will look in the form method. So in the form method, here I will first create my corner ribbon where I display the welcome message. So I have new LGUI banner, which will return me an object with all the formula. I define the banner tip, so it will be corner ribbon, the message, the banner name, the banner width, the banner height. So every property that we see before must be set via the formula. Actually, all those properties are in the documentation. So we have a documentation for every component, so you can find them there. And this draw banner will do the action of drawing the SVG and put it in the correct object. So the banner name is important. It's telling the component where to display the picture. So we do the same for a tip here. I define a new tip that I bind to my one property. I display the name, the position, the background, the border size. And here you see I define a subform name. So that means this tip will display a subform. If I look which subform it is, it's article modify. And article modify, I have some button inside. And those button is the plus and minus we see before. And we have a close box, okay. And here we see I initialize an object which called tip SF details that allow me to communicate with my form. Actually, this value will be bind to the form of this form. That means, no, it's not here. That means if I click plus, for example, here, yes, for example, here I have form.article. So that's a way to communicate between the subform in the tip and the main form where we call the tip. I don't know if I was clear, but for example, if I take back the code here, after I will put in this object, I will add an attribute article, and this article will share the same reference as form.article. So I can exchange information between the two forms. Okay. Here I have the same for the window of payment. So I define the windows. When I click payment, I see please pay. I do the same for the bonus tip. If you remember, if I go over the bonus part, I get a description. Yes, you see here I write use xlif, so I forgot to translate it. Okay, and the same for the discount tip description. And here, when I reach the discount, you remember I have an animated tip that jump 3 times and disappear after 3 seconds. So we see here I define jump number and tip duration. So when I show the tip after 3 seconds, it will disappear. Okay.
We had a question. Would it be possible to just give us a very quick look at the unit testing component?
Yes, sure. That was in the next. I will close this and I will open directly the unit test component.
Okay. Do you anticipate charging for these components at some point, or is this something that you're offering the community?
Actually, we give them for free, as I say, in a compiled version.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to acquire the source code, we will ask a financial charge. But actually, it's not true for all. Unit test is free, and the source code is shared on GitHub actually already. You can find on GitHub all the source code.
Okay.
But all the components in compile are free, and you can already start to use it.
Great.
Okay, let me show you first the main window of unit test. I have a main window where you can run all the tests. So here I will run all the tests. So I put a fake timer not to be too fast. So first I see all the list of the tests, and after I display them in a web area to have something nice. And all the failed tests will give me a red stuff, and the pass test will be in red. So here I see I have some that fail and some that pass. And on top, I always have the total. Okay, maybe it's more interest to see how I write unit test. So let me take a simple example. Which one I have? Okay, yeah, I have some. Okay. To write a unit test, you must start the method with this command. It's allow the component to know this method. It's contain a unit test. What I do, and this I really get inspired by Eric Elliott. He write a library in JavaScript that use the same principle. So I create a new object, which I call AgTools UT describe. So that means describe your unit test. So here I want to test the sum function. You must provide the current method name, so I know in which method the test is run, and you can give an optional category. This allow this allow you to categorize your unit test. So the principle is to describe good what your unit test is doing. So here we have always 4 mandatory attributes for one test. So given what should do what. So here given no parameter, it should return 0. So that's what's important in unit test is to know exactly the context and what we are testing and what we expect. So here the expect value is 0, and the actual value will be the run of the method itself with no parameter. And at the end, we just run the assert member function, and it will do the test behind. The next test is given one parameter, here 5, return 10, addition itself. So if you give only one parameter to sum, it should addition itself. Here 3 and 3 return 6. So okay. 1 and 3 return 4. So here if we go through our list, I will close that, we see all our tests are pass in the math category. I have a more complex test here. Maybe it's interesting for you to see. I have a problem. I used before the unit test module of, I forgot its name, but it was developed in V12 in 4D. And I have problem to test object because I used to stringify the object to test if they are correct or not. But the problem is that if the properties are not in the correct order, even if they are the same, it will give you a wrong result. So how I solve this issue in the unit test? Here we see, for example, the first attribute is B, and here A. But B, I have it also at the end. Actually, here they are all the same, just in a different order. If I stringify those two objects, it will, and I do a comparison, it will tell me it's wrong. So I find a nice way of doing that. Let me open the asset method. Is to use a member function on the collection. So here to do the test, I create a new collection where I put the expected value, and I create a second collection where I put the actual value. And the collection have the equal member function, and this equal do a deep equal, so it don't care of the position of your object. And actually, I don't even need to know which type of value is in this this attribute. It can be a text, as a number, a boolean, an object, a collection. I don't care, because when you use objects, you don't need to type your properties, and collection can contain any type. So this is really powerful because I don't need to make specific tests for each type of variable. So that is the way. And actually, if you look at the code, it's not really a lot of method. The most code I write actually is to display the result here. But to do the test itself, it was really, really simple. I just write those 3 lines of codes and description of the object, and that's all. The rest is just to concatenate all the results and to put them in the window. And of course, if I go check the logs of my project, I have a unit test result. So all the result is in a JSON, and you have the count, the pass, the fail, and all the description of every test. And at the end, you have just result true or false and the last date. So if one fail, the result will be false. If every one pass, it will be true. Okay, I don't know if you have question on that component.
That's a very clever way to compare the objects.
Yes, it really helped me not to struggle to recreate the object and to sort properties or.
Sure, and it's diacritical too, so that's
yes,
foolproof. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for this particular component?
I don't know. I have some more time, or I'm taking too long.
Well, we've gone pretty long, so we probably try and wrap it up.
Maybe I will just use 5 minutes to show you what's coming next. I will try to be quick possible.
Awesome.
I will show you one component we are working on right now. We call it breadcrumb. So here you see what we're gonna do with this component. So we can create some breadcrumb and define some over, some on-click state, and we can have a different state for the last, for the first, etc.
Nice.
Okay, and one last one we are working on, but is not yet ready to come because a lot of questions come out of this. Maybe if I do that, you will notice that we have a special effect here. Do you know how we do that with 4D?
On window resize, repositioning the subforms?
Exactly. And actually, if I make a little bit bigger here, you will see, if I go smaller, you see I also change the positioning depending on the space I have. So we base this on the Flexbox, if some are familiar with, in CSS, where you can define the positioning of your items. And if we look really quickly at how we define that, the idea is to have a JSON with a description. So here I defined a container. I want to display in flex. I want the direction to be in column. I want to wrap, so that means when I go over, it will wrap the element. And I want to justify space evenly, so it will have space everywhere. And I have some items in my container, so the 5 breadcrumb, and with some margin. And here, for example, I can say maybe center. If I relaunch that, now they are centered. So we want to try to provide something for alignment and positioning of elements, but a lot of questions come out of it, and we are still in the development phase.
Cool. Yeah, I really love how you've been able to take inspiration from other libraries, and for the unit testing, for the tips and buttons, and interface elements, and bring them in a very concise way with the components.
Yeah, we try to get inspiration mainly in the web part, because we have a lot of clients that tell us, but this in the web, I can do it much better and much nicer, and with 4D, it's old, so we try to show that we can do nice things if we take time to do it and we know our tool well.
Sure. Yes, it can easily look like a web page.
Yes.
Not a problem. Yeah.
So I think that's all for me. I will not take more time because I can speak more and more.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions for Gabriel? I'm gonna steal back the sharing otherwise.
Yes. So I think I have to stop sharing.
All right, and I will start sharing. One moment.
So thank you for your time, everybody. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. Thank you, Gabriel. That was awesome. Great demo.
Thank you.
Series of demos.
Let's see.
I thought I will have not too much time, but I see I didn't have enough to do everything. So
yeah, no, it's just a wealth of information, and again, like just going through each of the components and the labs that you have set up. It's just a lot to absorb.
yes,
and,
exactly.
And especially if I encourage everybody, if you have a moment to look at the way that the labs are developed, because that's also very interesting. Use of the dynamic form variables and the formulas and whatnot. It really ends up having a very cool effect with a very modern approach to the programming and nice UI on top of that. Yeah, so thank you so much, Gabriel. It is, in fact, AJ Sweet.
Yes, I see.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, we have his email on the previous slide here, or at least his LinkedIn. Feel free to read.
You can also check my blog if you have time too?
At the my4dexperience.com, he can be reached. So that was awesome. It's just so much material. It's almost enough to have a presentation just for each one of them. So
Yes, that is the thing. I can go only for one for 2 hours to go in detail, but
so thank you so much.
Overview.
Thank you so much for that. And you can find the schedule for future meetings with 4DMethod at 4dmethod.com/schedule. Our next meeting is on November 6th. We'll be showing off a little bit of work from some of my fellow engineers here, Nikhil Trivedi and Ilya Moskvin. So Ed and I have been working with them to publish information from the art collection to our website. And in turn, they've made a public access to that information. So you can actually you can run queries on our collection data. It's not quite released yet, but by the time this meeting comes, we'll actually be able to play with the API live, and you can run some API calls yourself on the Art Institute of Chicago collection data. So that'll be great. We're coming up with dates for 2020. If you have some ideas for other things that you'd like to present or other things you'd like to see for presentations in 4DMethod, do let me know. Again, thanks to Mike for becoming a new contributor on Patreon. Everyone check out patreon.com/4DMethod for other ways other than just taking part in these meetings to contribute so that we can keep this going. Zoom is not free, neither is any of our time, but you know, this is a lot of fun, and we always like to see what's going on out there in the community and get together and meet with everyone. So with that, I'll leave it there, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks again to everyone at 4D, and thank you, Gabriel, and to everyone at HRSA for putting these components available on the web for all of us to use.
Thanks a lot, Brent.
Okay.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Ed.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.